everybody.
Here we go.
We're back.
On for another round.
Pick a lane.
We picked a lane today.
It's really
Oh,
much.
well, first of all, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Did you have a good day?
Yeah. Zoe goes back to school tomorrow, so I've got a light at the end of the tunnel. I love my child so much.
This was the eternal Christmas break.
Yeah. 3 weeks is a long time.
Yeah, whose idea was that?
Not a mom's.
No. Ridiculous. It's nice and warm today, though.
It was.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Freaking loving it.
We're in the Midwest, but it feels like we're in the, I don't know, tropics.
Maybe. On the West Coast, they're just getting pummeled with rain right now.
Really?
It's crazy.
Are we talking about the weather? Is that the lane we're picking?
No, we're talking about bioenergetics.
Bioenergetics.
Switching lanes.
Yes. Let's do it.
I have to add Cuddy in to
Always.
every podcast.
Everyone. He's still got his number?
Maybe. Anyways, bioenergetic testing.
Here we go.
Oh, man, I'm stoked to talk about this one because, you know, it kind of changed my life.
Yeah, just a little bit.
And now is my life.
Yeah, I was going to say, we talk a lot about
Changed
bioenergetics.
my life and now is my life.
Yep.
Well, we're
Just like me, right?
Dude, you changed my life way more than bioenergetics. I don't know what you're talking about.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah.
Good thing you married a nurse. What would you have done? Real talk.
Died. Straight up. I'm not even joking to you. I'd be dead. I would have been dead either because I got sick or because I was too crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
One of two
I tamed you.
You did. You tamed and helped heal me.
I did. That
Touched
pressure.
by an angel.
Man, that was my jam growing up. Did you guys watch that?
Yeah, my mama loved it.
Every Christian family probably watched Touched by an Angel.
Bioenergetics.
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk a ton about it today.
Do you want me to talk nerdy to you for a minute?
Do it, baby.
Talk nerdy to me. So bioenergetics is a way of measuring frequencies in a unit of hertz.
Mm-hmm. And analyzing.
And analyzing
Mhm.
frequencies,
Yep.
yes. It's telling us all sorts of information. And just to demystify the frequency word, because I think sometimes people think that's a little
Woo-woo.
woo-woo.
But. We fly with the woo-woos.
We are pretty woo-woo.
This isn't woo-woo. Very quantum physics.
Yeah, this is,
But
yeah.
we get down with the woo-woos.
Give me all that energy.
Whoop, whoop.
Yes. But this is pretty measurable. It's just quantum physics. We know that all matter in the universe, and we talked about this in the first episode. So if you want to know more about that. But we know all matter.
If y'all haven't listened to the first episode yet,
go back. What you been doing?
Why are you here?
We know all matter in the universe is made up of tiny vibrating subatomic particles, and therefore all matter has a frequency.
That's measurable.
Yes, that's measurable in a unit of hertz, including our beautiful, complex bodies and cells. We know kind of what optimal frequencies are for certain parts of the body, and so we're able to analyze if that is coming in much higher than it needs to be. It shows that there's some stress in that area. If it's coming in as much lower, then we know that maybe that area is a little taxed or worn out or under functioning. Yeah, and there's other ways. When we walk through the scan, I'll kind of be the nerdy one that talks about how each part of the scan is done bioenergetically, but that's kind of the gist of it.
So good.
And it is a little different than maybe conventional methods of, quote, healing.
Sure.
I think especially in the US, we are very accustomed to symptom management as opposed to true healing or root cause healing. This whole pill for every ill model. And even if, you're not quick to slap a pharmaceutical on every little symptom, it's still kind of our framework that we're working within often is what I find.
I think even so in our journey, I don't know, for too many years, we did all of that trial and error. And I think there was some conventional medicine rabbit holes that we went down inside of that. Every doctor wanted to slap an antidepressant or bipolar pill on me. But even in the functional medicine or the holistic space, in many ways, no malintent whatsoever, but we were kind of still not looking at the root cause of things.
Right.
So we went to like an adrenal fatigue specialist. We were looking at all of these things.
Well, the problem there is it's like, what's the saying? If you have a hammer, every problem's a nail,
Sure.
So, yeah, it just depending
Never heard that saying.
There you go. It's a new one. I'm pretty sure my dad. That's a very dad phrase.
Yep.
Thanks, Dad.
Good job, Bob.
Yeah, so you go to an adrenal specialist. They're going to say it's
adrenal fatigue.
Yeah. Yada, yada.
When you have a slew of symptoms like I did, of course, it's easy to peg that.
Yeah.
But with this, we literally had tried more things than we knew were even existing at the time.
Yeah.
So when bioenergetics came, first of all, it did sound like woo-woo or some like MLM or
I was very skeptical.
so sketched out.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the fuck is this? It's just another person trying to take our money because
Yeah.
all we're doing is spewing money at my health
know.
every single month. It felt like it was. That's what was happening. But then what started to make sense even before, I did my first scan was that there was a bioindividuality component to it, which started to make a whole lot of sense. We can't do these blanket protocols and expect everyone to heal from them. I mean, we were doing like elimination diets, which was helpful, but not healing me. We were doing smoothies and like all these
detoxes and
yeah, the heavy metal detox, all these things that, are going to help some people, but they're not going to help everyone. And they're not going to heal people fully down to the root cause for the majority. That's never going to happen.
Right. What it felt like for us is we were just continually holding at bay a huge tsunami of
for sure.
symptoms.
Yeah.
By doing all these crazy things.
And we just never knew when the tsunami was going to hit.
Right.
Except it did every single summer.
Yeah.
So when we started to think of it as the peeling back the layers of the onion, the aha moments just flooded in.
Right.
And I think the hard part about, at least even in my experience, I'm so sick. I'm literally willing to do anything and go through the trenches just to get me out of it. But I don't know if I necessarily understood the amount of time that I would need to put into it to fully heal.
Yeah.
It's just not what we're accustomed to. We've got 2-day prime.
Yeah, microwave society.
We love. Yeah, you pop a pill, and even with Prozac, within days I was feeling stuff. Maybe not for the good, but I was feeling something. And so
right, but most pharmaceuticals are going to be effective within 48 hours.
It was intimidating, especially being sick. I'm so overwhelmed. We talk about it all the time. You were like filling my pill boxes because I couldn't even do that on my own.
Yeah.
But after that first scan, it was undeniable that one, the bioindividuality existed, that my body had its own order that it needed to go in order to heal. And then two, the only way that I was going to not have things at bay and fully take care of them to get my body into balance was to do it on a timeline that my body needed and wanted.
Yeah, and get all the way to the root, not just peeling 1 or 2 layers deep, getting to the source of the imbalances.
Yeah. And we'll have people on to talk about their experiences, but there's moments in the journey where you get a scan and you go through remedies, and while you're doing those remedies, you can feel a shift and you know that you're taking care of a root, and it just fucking motivates you in ways that I cannot even remotely describe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just keeps you going. I don't even know what scan I'm on at this point, but I was so sick and I really felt a shift at like 7 scans in. But we tell most people to give it 3 to give it a chance, and then decide whether you want to keep going. And completely understanding that, there's like a level of investment that exists inside of that. But I think what was so crazy to us is we're spending $30,000 a year on my health every year.
This was the most affordable route.
I healed fully in under $10,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fully.
Yeah. Like if you weren't doing this for a business, if this wasn't our life now, you wouldn't need to do scans anymore.
No. The only reason I've done so many scans is just because we own Ruti. But I just did the math.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, even if I did 10 scans, I'm paying not even a quarter of what I was paying annually. And so that's kind of what we did is I put together a spreadsheet. I saw how much everything was going to cost, give or take, and we stopped doing everything else and went completely headfirst into bioenergetics.
Yeah, and for those listening that aren't necessarily in the chronic illness category, but just chronic blah category, this isn't to instill fear or anything, of course. That's never my goal. It's kind of a pay now or pay later thing with health often. Sure. If you are experiencing chronic fatigue, if you are having trouble sleeping, or just having these kind of like nagging things that maybe are not completely derailing your entire life, but are interfering with your quality of life, gosh, do it now.
I wish I would have.
Like stop ignoring them, stop slapping pharmaceuticals on every symptom, because that snowball is growing, whether you know it or not. And it's going downhill fast.
We unfortunately see people come to us, ask questions, even do a scan. That aren't what we would categorize chronically ill. In the way of like it's completely life-changing. Then a year later, they came back to us. Sick.
I always just want to like shake people's shoulders, but I've just learned over and over again, people are not
It's at
ready
their
until
time.
they're ready.
Yep.
And sometimes that takes a rock bottom. And
For sure.
I hate that.
I know.
But I know it's true for my own self in different ways too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just got to hit the bottom before I'm ready to heal a thing.
Yeah. I think this is cool though too. We're starting to have contacts with professional athletes and starting to talk into those organizations where, I mean, these athletes aren't chronically ill in any way, shape, or form, but there's opportunity to optimize to get to their peak health. So it's not just for the chronically ill, but it's where the life-changing happens. That's for sure. And where we're focusing, obviously, because I was chronically ill and
Right. That's just been our
it's
experience.
our passion.
Yeah.
I genuinely just don't want people to be
I know.
as sick as I was ever.
Yeah. It's kind of frightening how many people are out there now experiencing what you had or worse.
I know. I mean,
I'm like genuinely
so many had so much worse than I did.
I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But we've got tools. Should we talk about a scan?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let me break down on
Yes.
my side what happens.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of go into the nitty gritties.
Cool.
So when you order a scan from Ruti, you'll get a swab and a bag to put your hair in. Literally all you need for Bioenergetics is a hair sample. It's a teaspoon. You can't see me, but I don't have any hair on my head.
He's got a shiny dome.
Yep. So you can use hair from anywhere. And if you don't have hair, you can use fingernail clippings. And then it's just a cheek swab. And
Saliva swab.
we provide you with a pre-labeled return envelope, and you send that off to the testing center. And then in 3 weeks, results come back. The results, being chronically ill, those results were hella overwhelming. It's so much information. And it's even narrowed down.
I was going to say, you don't even know
Oh
the
my
information that we
gosh.
aren't selecting what you see. Otherwise,
It's
it would
more
be
prioritizing.
Yeah, it would just
Yeah.
be absurd and not helpful.
No.
Yeah.
And it already is incredibly overwhelming. You go through overall system performances is what you see first.
And that lists out essentially every body system. Yeah, locomotor, cardiovascular,
Immune, lymph.
all of those. And it tells you in a percentage form kind of how that area is functioning.
Yeah.
It breaks it down to your top 3 areas struggling and then areas that are driving down system performance. So say you've got sluggish liver, your liver may pop up in that driving systems down.
I think what I didn't understand as I was healing through it is that something like that, when we're looking at a system performance, it then determines the rest of your results.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that.
Interesting. Wait,
Yeah.
tell me what you mean. You didn't understand how it correlates with the rest of the information?
So I thought that the system performances were just telling me what sucked and what didn't. And then here's the things that I needed to work on was the rest of the results. But it's actually the worst things in your system performance is what's determining how to balance the rest of the results.
Yes. Or it's giving you kind of glimpses into how and why that system is struggling. So,
and when I say balance, like getting my body into balance, that's another thing that took me a second to understand going into my own journey. And even we were talking to somebody the other day who's freaking killing it now. Like he's healed. But what I didn't understand at the beginning was the whole goal in this is to balance my body out.
Yes, homeostasis.
So
is
it
the goal.
can do its shit and fight all those little fuckers.
Yep. A lot of people get fixated, like in the holistic health realm. I mean, we talk a lot about root cause, and it's so important, of course. And these microbes, things like Lyme and whatever else, we get so fixated on those things, and they're important for sure. But a body in balance is going to keep all of those things under lock and key, and they're not going to wreak havoc on your body.
Which is why some people may have Lyme and not freaking bedridden.
Totally.
And then others are bedridden.
Right.
It's just a difference of whether you're in balance or not. And then there's obviously so many different layers.
Yeah, like you were talking about the bioindividuality piece.
Yeah.
And early on in our journey, we kind of had a hunch that that was important. I remember getting your 23andMe, the genetic testing, and now I realize, yes, there are genetic predispositions for things. You know, the NIPs are helpful to know, but it's all just predispositions. It's not a sentence. Like, it's not like, because my mom had X, I'm going to have Y.
Or I have a detoxification SNP, I'm destined for blank.
Right. We know that these genes can be turned on and off now through different environments, lifestyle,
totally.
whatever.
That was a huge component for me to understand
Mm-hmm.
because once that made sense, it was like, okay, Borrelia may pop up and I may do a pretty intense remedy or I may not.
Right.
And it's because my body doesn't need it. It just
Right.
needs support to get back into the balance so that it can fight it.
Right. And we'll talk more about remedies towards the end, but
I just wanted to make sure that was understood because I feel like that was not something I was understanding for a minute.
Yeah. That's helpful.
Okay. So we have system performances.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go into sensitivities.
Yes. So on a bioenergetic level, so the way that we test for sensitivities, and this is for food or environmental sensitivities. So things
and there's
like,
hundreds.
Yes. Things like pollens, grasses, etc.
Dairy alternatives.
The
list is robust.
It's definitely in the hundreds.
Yeah.
Well into the hundreds.
We have it on our site.
The way that we do this is we are introducing the energetic code or energetic frequency of the thing, so whether that's a food or environmental thing, to your samples. And then if that frequency either jumps way up high or dips way down low, that tells us that those two things are not resonating well together.
Yeah.
So generally that means for whatever reason, they're just not coexisting well.
Together.
Not vibing. So generally
but that doesn't mean eternally.
No, they shift. And not always, but usually we can kind of figure out the source of that. So say somebody is resonating, and we'll talk about these later, but resonating low in the enzyme lactase.
Sure.
Often we see that they don't resonate well with dairy.
Yeah, right.
And that makes sense. There's other reasons too, but it's not diagnostic, so we don't use any of the results to diagnose, say, like a food allergy or any medical condition.
None of this is for educational purposes.
Yes, educational purposes
is what we.
It is very helpful, and realistically, food sensitivities via blood work is very expensive and ever changing. Just like bioresonance and bioenergetic testing, those sensitivities are going to shift and change. But just coming from personal experience, I think we spent like $600 or $700 on food sensitivity testing before we found bioenergetics. And this is all included in the full scan.
Yeah. I mean, it was $600 to $700 per.
Yeah. It's helpful information. It's not everything, but it's helpful to understand which foods may be causing some.
Oh, yeah. And it's scary accurate. That was one of,
bizarre.
I mean, the whole results thing blew my mind immediately.
Every freaking scan that I do and every consult that I do, I don't know why. For some reason, I'm just an eternal skeptic of this, even though I also just wholeheartedly believe in it and want everyone to do it. But even just today, I had a consult and at least 4 or 5 things came up where I was talking and the person was like, oh my gosh, yeah. And they didn't put that on the form, you know?
I mean, the sensitivities are that. A couple scans in, I remember eating popcorn, not on my scan, but I was sending samples in shortly after. And I had the worst gas. I freaking blew up our house after popcorn. And I was like, I've never had a problem with popcorn. And then the next scan pops up and there it is, screaming popcorn. It's
not
just
resonate.
All this to say about sensitivities. Another thing that I learned through this process is that this isn't saying like you have to stay away from it. Obviously, your body's not resonating with it.
Mm-hmm.
How I looked at it is this is an opportunity for me to help my body.
Yeah.
Like popcorn. Yeah, I can fart through the night and I'll be totally fine.
Your wife won't.
True. But if I know that's something that's bothering my body, why force it to have to work in a stupid place like digesting popcorn when it's working so hard to fight fucking Borrelia?
Yes, exactly.
And that's really why the sensitivities are important overall to help you become more in balance. And my first scan had a scroll's worth of sensitivities, and now I have like 2.
Yeah, it's very common to somebody who's got a lot of stuff going on is going to have potentially more food sensitivities for a lot of reasons, but GI, leaky gut, things like that.
But environmental, mold, so many things that, I mean, when you're sick, your body's just not going to handle as well. But there were a few things that stayed on my sensitivities throughout the entire thing, soy being one of them. But we had known about that before. That was something that my body wasn't vibing with ever. And so now I'm just staying away from those small basic things. But yeah, staying away from those things only helps you as you're fighting off everything else.
Yeah, I know the food one can be hard. This is coming from somebody who adores food. It's like one of my favorite pleasures in life is eating delicious food. So I get it if that is an area in the lifestyle modification thing that's really difficult for you. I will say, like, having done things like Whole30 and other elimination type diets, which can be very helpful, I like that the scan is unique to me. It takes a little bit of the guesswork out of it, and honestly the hard work out of it. So
it takes
I
all
often
of the guesswork out.
I often will not resonate with gluten, dairy, soy, all the typical ones. But for me, that's a lot easier than like a full Whole30. I can do rice and just other stuff. So I guess all that to say, I get that it can be hard, but this is at least pinpointed to exactly what you need and maybe skipping a few steps of the elimination diet.
It's honestly one of my favorite parts of our scans because I just don't like having an upset stomach.
Yeah, for sure.
So I just stay away from those for my time while I'm doing my remedies and then on to the next one.
Yep. Yeah, food definitely can be medicine. And I think there is for sure an element of healing and chronic illness that requires some diet modifications. Like that's just, if we're feeding our bodies processed inflammatory stuff, it's going to be a lot harder for our body to come into balance. But I always say it's not a forever thing. Yeah.
Then the next one's nutrients.
Yeah.
Nutritional
Speaking of
deficiencies.
that, nutritional deficiencies.
One thing to say about this, I like poo-pooed this section during my healing process. We went at this pretty alone. We were kind of learning on the fly. We didn't really know anything, not until we started Ruti and really submerged ourselves in bioenergetics and then all of the information that comes from that. And then you starting consults and getting certified in ABCDFG. Did I actually recognize the importance of the nutritional imbalance section?
Yeah.
Like you were saying, if you're low in the enzyme lactase, odds are high that dairy is not going to be vibing with you.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit more about the actual importance of all of those? And I don't know if you can identify the sections, enzymes, amino acids.
Yeah, fatty acids, vitamins, minerals.
I think that's it.
Yes, it's very helpful, I think. And a lot of people are confused because things will resonate that we'll list something if it resonates as low. And then we'll also provide several nutritional sources of those things. There are definitely some that are very common. Like on almost every scan, I see several enzymes resonate as low. I think just generally as a species, our digestive systems are struggling. So often I'll recommend people to try some digestive enzymes, especially if they're having GI issues. But and then I don't typically, just for the sake of time on a consult, go through each one because there's a lot of them on most scans. But sometimes people will say like, oh, I eat a lot of this. Like, why would I be low in that? And often they're either a pathogen is eating up that on your behalf, or your digestive system is struggling and stressed and not absorbing or assimilating nutrients like it ought to.
Which was another aha moment for me of like, no shit. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
But I was pumping things like I was taking high dose of things.
And some of it's form, like some of it's what you're taking is not an absorbable form of a thing, but some of it is function, like your body is not able to absorb it or assimilate it. So that's very common.
Yeah.
And we'll see those again. If somebody is starting from square one, like they've done no work on diet or supplementation or foundational things, often it will be a lot of kind of nutritional supplements, drainage support on the first scan or the first round of remedies. And that feels like a letdown sometimes, like when people get a scan and they're like, I'm just taking vitamins. Like, no, we need to replenish where we are
because
low.
You would be royally fucked if you went
you just won't progress. You'll just be stuck is what, like your body needs particular things, vitamins, minerals in order to function, in order to detox, in order to do all these processes that are required to heal. So it's
Trust
where you
the process.
have to start. I know. Yeah.
It's so hard.
I know.
I mean, 2-3 scans in, you not even remotely have to remind somebody to trust the process.
Yeah, it's so true.
But going into it, it's like, I know this first scan looks...
Not always. Sometimes right away, people are resonating.
Yeah, and it really depends on what you're doing to prep your body for that.
Right.
People that are in the sauna every single day, focusing on their drainage pathways, things like that. Yeah, their results are going to look a little different, and they're probably going to go take on some heavy hitters. But even for mine, my first round of results, it was so accurate to a scary point, but I had to open up my drainage pathways, which is why I got so royally fucked with the heavy metal detox.
Yeah, well, and heavy metals is never where you want to start per se, but anyway.
Thanks, Doc. Shout out to the motherfucker that told me to do that.
Oh, man. Okay, what's next?
So then after nutritional imbalances, we go to toxins.
Toxins.
Hey,
if you are wanting to learn about toxins,
y'all,
check out our
Toxin
Tuesdays. We have fun on Tuesdays on Instagram and TikTok.
We do.
Okay, toxins. So this is where I spend the chunk of my time usually on consults, just because it is unique to bioenergetic testing. So this will list out any resonating, meaning we are picking up the energetic code or energetic frequency of this particular toxin or pathogen within your samples. So that means your hair and saliva is holding on to the energetic code or signature of these things. So again, not diagnostic, doesn't mean it's not helpful.
It worked.
Yeah. It is creepily
it educated
accurate.
Me to health.
It sure did. Yeah. Even this is probably way TMI, everybody, but whatever. We're a health and wellness podcast.
Y'all,
but
that's right.
I resonated with a certain parasite. Anyway, I've been on some herbs.
Yeah.
I pooped it out.
You did. I was so amped. It's Aaron's first parasite.
I'm sure I've passed them. I mean, I've been on herbs for, I don't know, a while at this point, but yeah, out she came. And I couldn't believe it at first. I just kept looking at it like, wait a minute, is that what I think it is?
Yup. It was awesome.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much more about it because I don't want everyone picturing me like examining my shit.
Yeah,
anyway.
I pooped out some that were so big that there was no need to examine.
Yeah, they were visible.
Yep.
Yeah, parasites are often a place that we start, and for many reasons. Parasites kind of act like a sponge for things like heavy metals, mold, bacteria even. So they eat this stuff up and hold on to it. And so what happens is if we try to heal, or if we try to target a different, we work with a lot of people with Lyme. So say we target Lyme and we don't cleanse parasites first, we don't get rid of parasites.
Yeah.
What happens is once we do then later, the parasites, they're going to die off and release all the shit that they were holding on to. And then you're back at square one, treating Lyme again.
Yep.
So not treating, sorry. We don't treat disease.
Remediate.
Yeah. So often we will see people resonating with herbals that will target parasites. Yeah. And a lot of herbs have multiple benefits, kind of like broad spectrum antimicrobial. So they may hit parasites, but also bacteria and also viruses, and et cetera. So that's often a place people start.
So in toxins, what you will see are mold, bacteria,
mold and fungus.
Yeah. Bacteria, parasites, chemicals, heavy metals, and viruses.
Correct.
I think in that order is how you will visually see it.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep. Designed that.
Yeah. So it's a lot of information. And this is why we require every scan to have a consult. Because if somebody were to just look at this information and be like, holy shit, I've got X, Y, and Z. It's overwhelming. And it can feel kind of like scary almost. And that is not at all what we hope it to be for people. And instead, I hope this is more of an aha.
Yeah, totally.
Like, oh, I feel validated.
We don't want
you
to
experience.
Google this without consult.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so how we've designed that, just so everyone knows, you're not going to see the toxins until you book the free consults.
Yes, it's for free. Yeah. I will unlock the toxins for you so you can see.
So inside the consult, you'll see it, and then Aaron will, or whoever the practitioner is, will go over it and help you identify what those are.
Yes. And often we will see in the toxin section things that, from my perspective, make a lot of sense with all the stress and deficiencies that we see in prior sections.
And usually you could start to correlate symptoms.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. In any consult that I've been a part of, and then in my own experience, the amount of aha moments that happen inside the toxins section is bogus.
Yeah, like just an example, a specific... Say somebody resonates with Babesia, which is a microscopic parasite, intracellular, meaning it lives inside of cells, but it has this very specific, not for everybody, but a very specific symptom called air hunger. So not everyone experiences that, but I will often just list off.
Which was one of my first symptoms,
Yeah. I will list off just some like common symptoms of each toxin. And not every time, but often people will be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's what that is. Like I didn't have any
Totally.
idea. So that's always exciting to be able to
Yeah.
give somebody kind of an answer and hope. We can get rid of that.
Totally.
Let's hit it.
And the cool part inside of all of that is with each scan, we ask you to fill out a health form.
Mm-hmm.
It's required for the first scan. And what it seems like with almost every client, and including myself, the symptoms that I'm putting down are the ones that I'm struggling with the most that day.
Sure.
Like when I'm filling out the form. Only people that are that sick, you're not just like keeping tabs on your 30,000 symptoms. So then when you get to the results and you're talking about toxins and you bring up like, yeah, you might have some intense eye floaters right now or whatever. And you're like, what? I am. And I didn't put that on my form.
I know, because we were so skeptical at first. We were like,
I didn't put anything.
Yeah. Are like, what are they doing with this form? Like, are they just making shit up? Now, being on this side of things, the form is very helpful because it's not going to change the information that your samples is giving us, but it's going to direct our interpretation and analysis of the information, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
To better help you. So
100%.
Yeah, I want to know what your biggest struggles, symptoms are so that we can formulate a protocol that is best suited for you. Yeah, if you're feeling skeptical, we're not using your form to cheat. We're using it to help you. That's something that I just wanted to mention.
Yeah, that's great. Toxins is the heavy hitter. I mean, it's where you're going to see things like co-infections, and the tough part about Lyme and the testing that exists right now is that it's only taking account a few variations. I don't even know what you call it.
Species.
When there's a handful of them.
Yeah.
And so, you're able to see more specifically the identification of which ones you're struggling with if you have it and anything else. So that's awesome.
The cool part about bioenergetics is we're testing for things at an energetic level, right? Or a frequency level.
Right.
So this isn't to say it's more accurate than diagnostic. It's just so different from diagnostic testing or any form of like lab work, but it can be very sensitive, I guess. It can pick up things sometimes even before we can see it.
Totally.
That's not even taking into consideration the crapshoot that is certain lab testing, things like Lyme. I mean,
or parasites.
Yeah. Ask any Lyme literate doctor and they will tell you that the Lyme testing is
archaic.
It's archaic. I mean, it hasn't been updated since like before I was born.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. And who knows how many false negatives. Anyway, that's why we love this test so much, because it can pick up on things that maybe a conventional lab wouldn't. Because these I'm
That's
getting,
okay. Go
I'm
for
getting
it.
nerdy.
You're amped now.
But here's the thing. So a lot of these, you got to think, these bugs are ancient, right? Like are way older than humans.
And survive.
Right. And we've kind of evolved together. So they have evolved with us within our bodies.
Yeah.
To evade our immune system. And so what happens is, especially, I know I talk a lot about Lyme, it's just what we work with a lot, but like an acute Lyme, you may be able to test for and pick it up. But once it's past the acute phase and we're into chronic, a lot of these bugs are able to burrow into places, into tissues, and they're good at evading both our immune system and things like antibiotics and other stuff. So again, just why I love using the energetic side of things to pick up. Yeah, it's really helpful.
It is.
Yeah. I know I don't have to convince you, but
no. Done being convinced. All right, let's talk about hormones.
Hormones. Yes.
Gosh, those poor things, they're sitting in between toxins and remedies. All you want to do is just bump past them and go right on to remedies.
Yeah, hormones do get overlooked a little bit. Here's the thing about hormones.
Yeah.
About a decade ago, people talked a lot about hormones, especially women, right? I mean, we sometimes feel like we are run by our hormones. In some ways we are, but no comment from the peanut gallery. The issue with hormones is an imbalance in hormones is always downstream from a bigger root cause. So while they are super important and they have huge impacts in our health, a lot of women are familiar with estrogen dominance. That's one we see a lot, is low progesterone and things like that, but it's all downstream. So if we're addressing the things that we've seen prior in the scan, if we're taking care of toxins, if we are eliminating food sensitivities, if we're rebalancing those nutritional imbalances, if we're nourishing our body with the right foods, if we are focusing on joy, eliminating stress, all of these things, our hormones are going to fall into balance. So it is helpful, but I don't spend a ton of time on it.
Yeah.
For that reason, because I know that if we're balancing the rest of our body out, hormones will fall into place.
Yeah. I'd imagine in consults too, this is at least how I was. I got there, I couldn't even tell you any of my scans hormone levels at any time. I would read my toxins and then bump right to remedies.
Yeah.
So we did consider when we were designing what the results were going to look like, if we were going to even include them into the results. Through the research, though, we found it to be incredibly impactful. And while it may not help you determine everything, it does give you a level of understanding of maybe this is impacting X, Y, and Z. And we need to stay conscious of that as you go through the scans. Because like we talk about, you're not going to do just one. Seeing how those are either coming off of your results of, oh, sweet, I'm not low in testosterone or estrogen or whatever. And seeing that progress is still incredibly helpful.
Yeah, and it's just another data point. So say we're seeing somebody resonate with a lot of adrenal stress or thyroid stress. The two are intertwined and connected. So if we're seeing those hormones again pop up at the end of the scan, whether it's low T3 or T4 or high cortisol or low cortisol, it's just another data point for us to really hone in and focus on those areas. So a lot of women do resonate with adrenal stress, thyroid stress. And so, yeah, we can talk through lifestyle things, dietary things, and that can be kind of a focus point, but it's just another data point. And there's so many data points that I can see why it gets a little bit overwhelming at that point. We said this earlier, but the amount of information that we are able to obtain from just hair and saliva samples, it's too much information to give a person. It wouldn't help.
Right.
So we're boiling this down, particularly for hormones. We're looking at the top 3 or 4, maybe 5 that are resonating high or low. So we have to boil it down or people will be overwhelmed.
Love you, hormones. Yeah. But let's get to the remedy.
Remedies. This is the exciting part because this is where healing happens, right? So according to all the information, the data that we've received from your samples, the equipment itself will generate a list of balancing remedies. I think it's about a list of 20 or so. Then our practitioners go in and we look for 6 of those 20 that we think will be the most balancing according to the stressors that we see and the toxins. So if we can kind of tell by the results that a person is not draining or detoxing, it may be focused more on just drainage at first or just nutritional support. And then once we kind of peel back those layers of the onion and we're getting a little more into the detox territory, we may resonate with more specific herbs or homeopathic remedies, things like a series therapy that's targeting a specific microbe, teaching your body how to manage those things. As far as what remedies may resonate, we use 2 different lines of products. We use Does Bio products and Physica Energetics. They both have herbals and they both have homeopathic lines and nutritional supplements. Herbals, you can kind of think of doing a job for the body. And sometimes we see herbals used as just like green medicine. So,
you called them snake oils at first?
No. I mean, like, sometimes we see people in the natural health space kind of use it like a pharmaceutical, but it's natural. So that's not our goal. Our goal is to, again, bring the whole body into balance, into homeostasis. We're not just treating a symptom with an herb, but herbs can be super helpful. They can be more supportive in nature, like our adaptogens, the rhodiola, ashwagandha, holy basil. Those can really help people to modulate that stress response. So whether their adrenals are really stressed or under functioning, it can help to balance that out. But then we have herbs that are more detoxifying in nature that are going to go and kill microbes and help to break down.
They kill.
They do, yes.
They do that.
Yeah. But they can also help to break down things like biofilm that are protecting those microbes, that are keeping them safe from their perspective, not so much our body safe. So that's the herbal realm. Those are going in and doing a job for the body. Homeopathics are super cool and they are more so teaching your body how to do a job on its own. And so we've talked a lot on our social about the series therapies, but in that scenario, we're introducing the energetic code or signature. Again, we work a lot with frequencies and energy. I know it sounds like it's just different. And
it's science, baby.
I know. So we're introducing a small concentration of that energetic code or frequency or signature of a particular toxin. And every 3 days, we're increasing that concentration slightly up to day 10. And then we work our way back down. And so what that's doing is eliciting an immune response from our bodies to specifically to that toxin. So our body is able to mount a response and learn how to keep that toxin under lock and key.
Yeah. The series therapy in general, out of all of the remedies that I did in my healing journey, those seemed to be the most impactful. I most definitely saw the most progress from series therapy over anything else. And I understand that remedies in and of itself, they all matter. But Shit, dude. When I was going through the series, I poo-pooed those. All it looks
Yeah.
like is freaking water in a vial. You're like, whatever, this kind of tastes like rubbing alcohol, whatever this is doing. And they're all exactly the same. And you increase the dosage. It's all the same size, but you increase the load as you go up, and then you decrease going down. And
You
I
felt it.
won't poo-poo those anymore.
No.
I have full respect for them.
Yeah.
And I think something to talk about too is there's many clients that will resonate with the series and do fine on it.
Yeah.
And not feel a hertz. And the goal isn't 2 hertz. That's not the goal. And we have, through a lot of trial and error, figured out certain ways that help you through those and it not be death or hell to get through it. So it is a huge win. It's a celebration when you're not hertzing as much, but it doesn't mean it's not working. It just means that your body is working hard to combat what a hertz would be, and you're detoxifying that shit out.
Yeah, I always hesitate. I want people to be prepared and informed before they start these remedies. So
you don't want a whiplash.
Yeah, and nobody wants to be surprised by a
Right.
hertz. So I usually will mention it, but I'm always hesitant to do so because sometimes it almost feels like planting the seed of
For
like,
sure.
you're going to feel like garbage.
And if you
then
don't,
they
you're
do.
like, what the fuck?
Yes.
It's not working.
Right. Yes. And then there are things supportive in nature that we do anytime somebody's on a series. First of all, we always start with the comprehensive detox kit. So that will help to open up our drainage pathways, comprehensive head to toe. So we start with that. Also, anyone that's doing a series therapy will always be on liposomal vitamin C to just really help immune support, also support your adrenals as they're being asked to do a little bit of extra work. And that can really help to decrease the chance of a herx, along with smart silver. So smart silver is adjacent to colloidal silver. Most people are familiar with colloidal silver. It's kind of an antimicrobial, almost antibiotic, but natural form. This is different. Smart silver it's a different molecular form. It's an amazing product.
I don't know if you've seen my big fat Greek wedding, but that shit is my Windex.
Yes.
I put it on everything.
Yeah. You can use it topically on wounds and stuff, but during a series therapy, we take it orally, so under your tongue. It acts as kind of like a mop, sort of. So if you think of the series therapy as sort of shaking the tree, the smart silver is the mop to mop up whatever we shake loose. And that's super important because otherwise you may really not feel great.
Yeah. I would increase the silver when I start to feel any type of herx. I'd increase Lip C and silver, and it would help exponentially.
Yeah.
Within 30 minutes, I would notice the herx start to come down and kind of relieve me in crazy ways.
And then the other thing, depending on your health form, so this is another reason why that health form is so important. If there are symptoms that we know that you are already struggling with, or we theorize that may come up with something like a series kit or any really herbal, homeopathic, whatever, there are other supportive remedies that we can add on to your protocol. I mean, DesBio even has a product called Herx that will help to mitigate the Herx reaction. So we want it to be the most tolerable process possible. So again, important to give us as much information as you can.
The goal isn't a herx. Your body's already working really, really hard. So why add more stress to it?
Yeah.
If you don't mind, can you talk a little bit about one thing? We talked about it in our previous episode, but the importance of actually doing all remedies instead of picking and choosing based on what you feel. Obviously, we talk a lot about intuition. And so trusting your intuition is something we advocate for, but your body is telling you in various ways that, hey, I'm ready to take care of this. And we're seeing what resonates and what doesn't. What are the pros and cons of doing it fully? And if somebody chooses not to do all 6, sometimes we see 7, but rarely that list of remedies. What does that look like?
Yeah, that's tricky. And I know that people are financially often making that decision because the series and the comprehensive detox
It's expensive.
kits, it gets pricey. We've been there. We get it. That being said, the way that we test, we take those 6 remedies that your body has already told us are balancing, and we resubmit those 6 all together to your samples to ensure that synergistically they're working well together. So it's really hard for me on a consult to suggest anything other than those 6 because that's the information that we have, and we know that together they're balancing. And you've got to keep in mind, there are so many physiological processes and chemical interactions, all these things that are happening within your body that, say somebody resonates with B vitamins and they're like, I'll just do whatever herbs. Your body requires those nutrients to do so many functions, including detoxing.
Yeah.
And I think often too, one remedy relies on the other. They work, again, synergistically together. So if we're just picking and choosing, it's just not going to be the best for you. The way that bioenergetics works is we are almost asking your body a question. What are you struggling with and what do you need now? And your body is literally giving us information saying, I am low in this. I'm resonating with this toxin, etc. And I am ready for X, Y, and Z.
It's the key.
Yeah, it's your body is telling us what it needs at this very moment in real time. We do recommend, if possible, trying to test on an average day for you. I know that symptoms ebb and flow, so don't get too tied up in that. But ideally, if you're able to be off of any supplements or non-essential medications, of course, consult your doctor before you stop taking any medications. But ideally, be off of anything that you can tolerate being off of for 3 days, and then collect your hair and saliva samples. And this will help us to just get a clearer picture. I remember when you were sick, taking a day off of, say, CBD and GABA, magnesium, that was just not happening.
Wasn't happening.
No, you would have been a wreck. So don't do that. But if there's things that you're wondering, like, do I need this? Just be off of it for 3 days. And if you're curious, if there's supplements that you're taking currently and you want to know, are these balancing for me? Is my body vibing with this? There is an option on the site when you purchase to add in up to 5 supplements.
Yeah. You'll see it on the card. It'll come up after you add a scan to your card. It'll pop up asking you, do you want to add 5 supplements to test or no?
So yeah, if you do select that, we'll send you with some extra bags and just make sure that you label them. And we're able to then look and see if those things that you're taking are balancing with your body.
That started to be really helpful for me. Once I got midway through the healing journey, we were taking like probiotics or prebiotics, and it's like a crapshoot. You have no idea what is causing your belly to feel the way it's feeling. And that was super helpful to be like, yep, that probiotic's probably causing all this upset stomach, and you could eliminate it.
Yeah, so that's always an option if you're curious.
So our third that we didn't talk about, we have herbal, homeopathic, and then nutritional supplements. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yes. So if we see things resonating low in that nutrient section of the scan, those vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids.
Which smart silver and liposomal C would be considered nutritional supplements.
Yeah, just because they don't really fall under the other two.
That's where you're going to see them.
Yes, of course. So, but if somebody is resonating really low, and we're theorizing that that could be causing or contributing to the overall picture, that's when a nutritional supplement will populate. And they are just as important as the other two. And often, again, I think we've talked about this, but we have to start with the fundamentals. A body will not heal if it is depleted, if it needs nutrients. So that is often a place that we start. We may see like the Vita Life Force or just something that has a lot of nutrient dense things. And
sometimes that can be a bummer to some clients because they'll come in so sick and just so ready to rock and roll. You're at rock bottom. You are ready to do just about anything to heal. And then you get a slew of supplements and you're like, what the fuck? I could have gone to Amazon and gotten all of these. You have to understand, and I was there too, that you have to have a foundation in order to build off of it. And if your body's not ready for some heavy hitters or even herbals that can do some crazy things and help you detox and all of that, then you have to start that foundation if you don't have it to make sure that your body is ready to handle whatever it's about to do inside of the herbal and homeopathic.
Right. Yeah. Don't be discouraged if you resonate with like a greens powder. That's your body saying, I need some support before we do this big job. So,
but again, the beauty of that is you're not guessing.
Exactly. So we know that your body is telling us that this particular remedy, ingredient, whatever, is balancing.
Yeah.
And that's our goal, right? It's ultimately balanced to a point where your body can come into contact with whatever in your environment, whether it's toxins, stress, etc., and cope. So that's what the goal is for these remedies. The goal is to send you on your merry way and not come see Ruti ever again.
Balance.
Yeah, that takes time. Don't expect it to happen in one scan and run of remedies, but that is the goal.
This was good.
Yeah, it was fun.
I love results.
Yeah,
they're so fun.
I know, I'm such a nerd. I love like getting into the, I don't know.
Yes, you do.
The nitty gritty.
I just like healing.
Yeah, healing's nice.
Healing's nice. I'll stick to that.
Yeah.
Hopefully we answered a bunch of questions. It's confusing. Results can be confusing. Bioenergetics in and of itself can be confusing. Hopefully we answered those. But if we didn't, DM us, reach out.
Yeah.
Whether we talk about it on our podcast or we talk on the Toxin Tuesday or we just DM back and forth, hit us up at ruti.life.
There you go.
Sweet. Well, bada bing, bada boom. Bye.